Okay, right around when President Trump started taking questions about tariffs this afternoon, you're going to see this. It went off a cliff. And in fact, we were actually down over 900 points when it comes to the Dow at one point today. So those numbers that you just mentioned, they're definitely extreme, but they aren't as bad as we were. Now, why? Markets have been trying to price in this question of tariffs. And I think what we heard today was President Trump saying, look, this is going to happen at 12:01. A lot of investors, a lot of companies were hoping, is this a negotiation tactic? Are we going to see an 11th hour deal like we saw a month ago, right? This was supposed to go back into effect at the beginning of February. But if you look particularly at the auto sector, Ford, GM, like Stellantis, they were all down significantly, over 2 to 3%, because these are the companies that have big plants in Mexico and Canada, and they're going to feel this as well as some of the retailers the most.
Okay, so there was a bit of a rebound, though, you said. This isn't sort of a day where to panic and say massive sell-off. That's not the headline necessarily.
Yeah, I would say it's somewhere in between, right? This was a big drop. And by the way, we are not far off of where we actually were before in terms of these indexes when the president won the election. So we've actually kind of lost a lot of those gains. So over the past couple of months, we've seen the market start to normalize. Today, we saw a big sell-off, but there's a lot of volatility. This isn't something where this has happened 5 days in a row, Lindsay. And that's where the analysts that I'm talking to are saying, yes, investors reacted poorly to the news today, but this is not something where we're entering a stock market crash yet.
What is the president's relationship with the stock market performance?
Well, he often looks at the stock market as a performance metric. Remember, in his first term, he always looked to the stock market as a measure of how he was doing economically. Now, you and I have talked about this a ton. The stock market is not the economy. They're two very different things. But I think today is going to be interesting because, of course, we're going into his first congressional address tomorrow. And you just saw a major sell-off based on policies that he is likely going to be touting in that speech.
Tariffs that he says are quick, easy, a powerful weapon. What are the variables that could happen between now and tomorrow's opening that could affect numbers?
Well, Mexico, Canada, and President Trump could reach a deal. I think there's still that hope that something could happen. Remember, these don't go into effect until 12:01. But I'm a nerd, so I'm going to mention this. There is an index called the Volatility Index, the VIX. It's basically called the Fear Index for investors, and it measures. I know, right? It's a great name, great branding. It measures how much fluctuation there's going to be in the market over the next 30 days. Today, it spiked over 20%. Wow. That's not something that we've seen in a really long time, in fact, since December. So as I think about tomorrow, as you asked, yes, there could be fluctuations, but I'm also thinking over the next 30 days based on that metric.
Okay, so within 30 days, we're going to see another important date on the calendar, April 2nd. What is supposed to happen then?
More tariffs. So these are reciprocal tariffs. It's a form of retaliation, essentially. President Trump has said any country that puts a tariff on U.S. goods coming into their country, well, tit for tat, we are going to tariff you right back. And so right now, his team is researching, looking at all